Hi everybody, it's Dr. Johnson and we're going to briefly talk about planned learning. What do I mean by planned learning is really identifying where we might be providing education and then developing objectives. So where will nutrition professionals provide education? Planned learning can be in a variety of different locations, such as a grocery store, healthcare, a school setting, community, or even workplace wellness. There are so many different avenues for nutrition professionals to provide education to a wide variety of audiences. To help us be successful when we're planning learning, it's important for you to understand and know your audience. We want to make sure that we're having a blend of what somebody is interested in learning and what we want to talk about. It's also important to tailor our message to the audience, specifically their health needs, their educational level, what resources they have available, and any type of developmental needs. This is really when we look at the lifespan. We want to make sure that we can define that outcome by writing clear objectives through planned learning. Objectives help us to identify what we want our audience to know. It's important to start with this because it can help us tailor and customize the approach to providing education. Some things to consider when we're looking at writing objectives is performance. What will the person be able to do after I provide education? The second is condition. Under what conditions will that person be performing that particular task? And the final one is criterion. So how well must the person perform in order for the performance to be acceptable? These are kind of the three little nuggets that we can use when we're looking at objectives. Here are some examples. A poor example would be a student will understand the benefit of evaluations. You can also replace this to be nutrition-based and say the student will understand the benefit of fruits and vegetables. A better way to write an objective would say a student will be able to list without notes at least 3 benefits of consuming fruits and vegetables. You can measure that and it is very objective. Another example could be a student will know how to change a tire. We can put this into nutrition and we can say a student will be able to know how to select the most nutrient-dense bread. We can then say it even better using these performance conditions criterion by saying students will be able to describe, without using notes, the 5 steps for selecting nutrient-dense breads. You can see here that they're all following what we previously talked about, those SMART objectives: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-oriented. Now, one thing to consider when we're looking at ways of learning, whether it's cognitive, so that's just knowledge base, affective, which are our feelings or emotions, or psychomotor, which is our hands and being able to actually make a healthy dish. We can look at writing objectives specifically for each of these types of learning, or we can have a blend. What I want you to do is decide which of these objectives is cognitive, which is affective, and which is psychomotor based. So pause the video and write them down. If you said objective number 1 was psychomotor, objective 2 was affective, and objective 3 was cognitive, you got them right. This is another thing that you can keep in mind, because if you are writing an objective for affective outcomes, so you want to change the thoughts or feelings, you're going to have a lot different method of education compared to if you're going to change their psychomotor or their cognitive. Now, cognitive could be blended in, like I was saying earlier, or you could have a blend of all three. An example that would be a really good method approach we'll be talking about next week. However, if you're looking at psychomotor, a good method would be making meals. So having a food demo and then having them create recipes on their own. Where an effective objective, a good idea for a method of education would be things like discussion based, think, pair, share, right? So you're talking about your thoughts, your feelings, emotions around food. When we're writing objectives, it's always important to remember who is the audience. We want to identify what they want to know, what we want them to know, and what the intended outcome would be. And then we're going to write those objectives based off of outcomes that are desired, whether it's psychomotor, cognitive, or affective, or a combination of all three.